Scholars, this is Makito here, and today we will be studying Attack and Defense Chapter 4. We've taken a long and detailed look at the strategy and tactics for attack. We covered in the few weeks, how to attack for profit, how to attack for power, and many other, and 5 severe tactics or techniques that would cover attacking. If I recall a few of them, there was the angle tetsuji, the eye stealing tetsuji, the cap and shoulder hit, and there was a few others. Obviously, there was 5. In my last video, you guys can check that out. I also apparently need to review it. So now we're going to take a look at defense. So when we look at this, right, it takes 4 moves to capture a Blackstone. The idea is that defense is almost 4 times easier than attacking. Take a look at how many moves it takes, right, to kill this. This is me reading the script, kind of repeating myself here. Yet it only takes 1 move to save black, right? So it only takes 1 move. The odds are weighted heavier in the defender's role. So we can see if like it was black's turn and black moved here, it would only take 1 move to defend itself, right? So that's why chapter 2, we studied the importance of indirect attacks and double attacks. The idea is that if we just directly try and hit our opponents, then they're going to be able to get stronger very easily. So it becomes very difficult to actually kill things in this game. And this is why we studied like indirect attacks, such as like leaning attacks, and setting up double attacks in order to make sure to get kills, right? Defending is less productive than attacking, but we've seen attackers or attacks. Well, we've seen what attacks can do against weak groups. Pros defend all the time, right? So even though defense is considered less productive, the idea is that if we allow our opponents to attack, then they can gain profit or power, and so it's very important to defend. We're going to see a bunch of examples of how the pros defend themselves. So let's take a look. So this was Kitani versus Go Sagan. The question is, what did White play? If you guys are watching this at home, feel free to pause the video and answer if you want. The idea is it's White's turn to play. So, did White invade, defend, block, invade, or defend here? All right, I'm going to give you the answer. The answer is D. This move doesn't put pressure on black, nor does it make territory. It's just out in the open. A lot of the times, if you guys, study with a teacher, especially double-digit Q players and single-digit Q players, of course, make what's called a floating move. It's these moves that feel like they don't really put pressure on black nor make territory. These are generally bad moves. But in this case, we can see it helps defend this group. So let's see what would happen if you didn't play this defensive move and black got the first move here. If black pushes through, white has to defend a little more close to home. Black gets to Hane and pretty much cut off the stone. And in the end result of the evaluation, we see that black gets the first attack here. Black is expanding on the bottom. You can see this area is becoming really big, roughly about 50 points. While black is also pushing white into black thickness here on the top. It's a very good result for black. Black's doing a very good job here. So the idea is that if we play this move, then we're preventing black from making really good moves. So even though this is slow, right, it's not putting pressure, it's not making territory, it's a huge defense that is worth playing. It's worth playing a little bit slow in order to stop this devastating attack here, because this is really painful. It's very good for black. So sometimes we need to make slow moves to defend. All right, this is Honimbo title game. Sakata, who is playing as white, versus Takagawa. White to play. So, if you want to pause the video, we can see which move you think is right. We have A, B, and C. I'm going to give you the answer now. So the answer was B. Ideally, when we look at this group, the book actually says that Sakata is a master of making sabaki, like getting out of tricky situations. So it kind of leads you to say, like, hey, you don't really need to defend this. Because if black plays here, you can just jump out, right? But let us see all the variations. White defends his weak group. And if black plays A, so if black plays A, white will respond with B. This defensive move will give white lots of power to the left, making it worth preventing any attacks here. So once white plays this move, and black plays here and white plays here, we can see that white is saving its group and developing a large influence this way. This is actually a very good move. The book calls it exquisite. And white also plays here, like plays the follow up move. Instead of pushing like this, which is something I probably would have done, white comes down to defend this group because this group is also very weak. You can see if black plays, something in here, it would be pretty devastating to the base of this white group. So after white defends itself, it defends itself again, right? Making sure that this group will live without any problems. So we can see how the pros defend. Let's take a look if we played it out of order, right? And black played this. Well, now if white has to jump and black jumps and white jumps, we can see the difference, right? When white had a move here, there was lots of potential and influence and power facing this way. But now, we can see if black moves forward, there's black's already getting inside this potential. There's much less influence or power here. In fact, white's just running away, which might not be that profitable, right? Black can kind of make points on the bottom and make influence on the top. So we can see the difference between defending and not defending. It's a very important concept of keeping your stones well protected. And in this case, I think it's much more obvious because you're gaining something along with defending. In the last one, it was just defending to prevent black from getting something good. In this one, you're preventing black from getting something good and helping a weak group. So I think this one's easier to find compared to the last question. All right. This is Yoshio Ishida as white versus Rin Kaiho as white to play. So, where did white play next? We have defending this group at A, defending this group at B, and defending this group at C. If you want to pause the video and try it home, you can pause now. But I'm going to give the answer now. So the answer is C. When I first looked at this problem, I think in the book they don't have the markers, right? So I try and make it a little easier. But in the book, I thought that this needed defense, right? When I look at this is just a stick. Black has some strength here, black has some strength here. So I felt like this was the best move. But the answer was C here. And the reason, let's talk about it, right? White one looks like an odd move. It's too overly protective of a group with so many liberties, right? Like, look at all these liberties in space. It's weird to see this move be the right one. But first, this is the only move that guarantees life. Like, if we play any other move, none of these move actually guarantee that white's gonna live, right? So this is the only move that guarantees life. Second, there's a weak group on in the lower left, so it's talking about this group here. And so it prevents a double attack, right? If white or black was to undercut this white group and then um, continue to split these two groups, this would cause a double attack. We learned about this in another chapter. Um, and third, it's very profitable. When we look at A and B, white has some moves that can add to white's profit. And so by protecting this group, we prevent a double attack, we help out a weak group in itself, and we gain some profit. So I think this move would be pretty. I could be wrong, but I think this move's kind of hard to find, at least at my level. And so, yeah, I really like this example. I thought this was really cool. Um, I remember in the class before when I did this live, people thought that this needed help. So I made a variation showing that it really doesn't, right? It's going to live very easy. So you wouldn't have to worry about B here. Um, and that is mainly it. So we're going to move on to the next variation. In the last chapter, we saw the most severe attacks are non contact plays, right? So the idea is that when you're attacking something, you don't want to touch it. Because when you touch a stone, it just gives them the next move to get stronger. So in defense, the opposite is true. The best defensive moves are contact plays. The idea is touching stones will make black stronger, but it'll also make you stronger, right? And so they're good for defense, but terrible for attacking. So how can white defend his two stones in the upper right? These two stones. If you want to pause the video and try and find the move, now's the time. I'm going to give the answer. So the answer is to play a contact move here. We see that now black has pretty much. Let me. Should be black's turn. Let me play. There we go. So now black has pretty much four options. If we play this, clearly white will link up. Same here. The white will link up. So now we have to look at A and B, right? So let's look at A. The fun thing about this is normally we play this cut right away. But in this particular case, because we have a couple ways to go out, this is actually a better way to play. Once black peeps here, we then pull back. And when black has to fix, white, well, let's see what we wrote here. White defends and puts black in bad shape, right? So black's in bad shape here. Empty triangle. The order of moves are important. Now we continue. We can try and link up on the bottom, and then we can play 9, and this will give us enough room to either live inside or jump out. I'm just making sure. The book ends here, but I do see, so let's say if black played in here, we could probably get away with something like this, I think. Because I'd want to... Originally I was going to cut, but maybe there's a problem here. Well, this looks actually really good for white, especially if you get to kill these stones. The book doesn't give you the perfect move after. Like, if black comes out, you can just live with this, right? But if black pokes here, we're going to have to find a way to be okay. And that looks a little difficult, but I at least like the premise of this move. Um, Originally, I liked this idea, which works. White is out now. But anyway, I don't want to slow down this lecture too much. I guess if you want to try this out, you can try it at home. But yeah, so essentially in the book it says at this point, white has enough liberties to live. So let's just delete this one for now. And let us continue on. One thing that what did show is that if you just normally pulled back here, right? We played this first, which was a really nice peep to bad shape. But if we just played this, black will now play this. If we try the same thing, black now makes a bamboo joint. And so if white pulls back first, black makes a bamboo joint and black gets much better shape. This is much stronger than what we saw. The other one, it was really bad shape, and this one is good shape. All right, let's move on to the next example. Sorry to slow down there for a second. So I really like this example here because this happens to me all the time, right? If we take white stone and black stones away, and then white plays here at DH, right? Like sometimes I never know how to answer this. Like let's take a look really quick. Like if it was like this, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if to like diagonal or play attachments or even like jump or something. So I like this idea of using the diagonal here. It gives me at least a starting move, which I like. But anyway, yeah, I think this happens all the time in games. White wants to defend this invasion. So white played A and then black played E9. And so now white wants to defend itself. First, white will push, and then white has two options. There's a bad one and a good one. If you want to pause the video and find out which one, go ahead. But I'll give you the answer now. And so the answer is, it should be white's move, by the way. The answer is B, but let's look at A first. So if white plays the empty triangle, black now gets to use a technique we learned a couple weeks ago, which is the setup for a double attack and also a leaning attack, right? We're leaning on this weak group to gain strength to attack this. If white defends here, black gets to attack this with one more move. If white defends here, black gets to swallow this one move up. So it's really nice, this double attack. This is very unsatisfactory for white. So now we're going to look at the attachment, right? Remember that what we said just in the previous one. To defend ourselves, we want to use contact plays, attachments, right? We want to touch our opponents to get stronger. So we start with this one. Black canes and white plays down. And now black has two options. There's a good one and a bad one. I'm just going to go over both of them. If you want to pause it, you can pause it now. But I'm going to give you the answer. Let me just see. This attachment at 3 is a much used defensive Tetsuji. That works well, right? Alright, so if we play A, white's going to Hane, which creates a weakness here. And then white gets to hit the head of this stone. So now you can see white is out and is in much better shape, right? And this is much better shape than what we saw in the previous. In the previous one, black got to play this attachment here, and we just had an empty triangle, and we were hurting really bad. In this one, we have a nice tiger's mouth, and we're already out. The life is much better than the previous diagram, and it all started with this attachment. It's saying if black played A, so if black played here instead of here, we can Atari. Excuse me. Atari. And I think we need to I think we need to Atari here first. So be honest. So let's play this first. And then here. And then here. and then here, and then here, and then here. And so now you can see that this dies in a ladder. So this is really cool. So that's why black plays this one normally. All right, let's move on to the next example. This is a move I couldn't find. In the other diagram, like when I was personally studying, I found it. But in this one, I couldn't. This is very interesting. Here, white can use the same contact play technique. Um, so if it's white's turn, right, the answer's already lit up. But when I was looking at this, the book didn't have this marker, right? So I was looking at this move as like a leaning attack to get out, um, or maybe this under like large knights move, or even this rush invasion type move. This wouldn't save these two, but it would probably give white like at least a ko or something here to try and live. But I didn't look at this one. And I found this one really good. So let's take a look. Of course, the ones I couldn't find was learning something new, right? And so this was learning something new. Here, white can use the same contact play technique. So now we're looking at black's move, A or B. We're going to look at both. So let's take a look. If black Hane is on the inside, white cross cuts. White may have to sacrifice some stones, but white can escape and make good shape. This crosscut sacrifice comes up a lot, and in some variations I knew it as a Joseki, but for the most part I don't feel I use this cross sacrificing technique often. The problem is I always felt like there's so many variables, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and maybe, yeah, I would say there's at least 8 like variables, and so it becomes very unpredictable and hard. But in general, in this case, because these two stones are here, this is really good. So let's see how this continues. If black Ataris, then we counter Atari. Black fixes itself, and now we're out. Well, we pretty much got out of this situation. White's outside with much better shape. It was all due to this sacrifice. So this is really nice. Let's see. Now let's see if black was to play on this Hane. White counter Hanes, or what I call the dancing Hane, right? Black dances around you, white dances around him. Um, and so now black has two options. If black plays A, white can now make another Hane, which leaves weakness. But you can see that when it comes to defense, so black takes the stone, and then white gets the counter Hane, right? White makes life. Just like in the previous diagram, you can see when you're trying to be defensive and make contact plays, the key skill here is learning to sacrifice a little to gain a lot, right? To save the main group. So in every variation, there's always going to be some sacrifices. Let's see. If B backs off here, well, now white can push and then just play this, right? So this would be really good for white as well. There's also an invasion at A, so this follow-up is really nice here. And if black was to Atari C, white becomes stronger, black pushes down, white Ataris, and then we can actually jump out here, right? This stone becomes really weak, so we can get out. White sacrifices and gets out, right? And white sacrifices these two stones to come out, or this one maybe, because black can play here and get the first move, but white would be out, and so that's a success. So what if black played here instead of A? Well, now white pushes, black Ataris, black cuts these stones off, and then white plays here, which is actually essentially getting the corner. White gains the corner, and black has lots of weaknesses, right? There's a weakness here, and here, and here. And so this works out for white just as well as all the other variations. Um, so we can see once we cross-cut here, well, in this case it was the cross-cut, and in this case it was the dancing hane. But this attachment underneath helps these stones significantly. It's very interesting, and I think this was a hard move to find for me. And I'm a 1Q to 2Q player, so I just found it very difficult. So I think this was something really cool and something new to learn. Let's move on to the next one. I'm a little biased, as you can tell. When I find something that is really useful for me, then I harp on it a little more. We've seen 3 under the stone to attachments. Let's look at an attachment on top. So in this case, if we look at this board, black is strong here, black is strong here, white has a weak group that's running out, and so this is the weak group that we want to get stronger, right? So what are we going to do as white? Well, to get stronger here and make shape, we can actually attach on top of black here. So once again, to make good defensive moves, right? We're not trying to kill this group here. So we can play contact moves to make ourselves stronger. This also makes black stronger. So we see if black plays here and then breaks the shape. Now, a lot of people were saying, why not just make a bamboo joint? And if I was playing this game, I would do this exact same move. But let's take a look at what the book says. So white makes an empty triangle, black gets the peep, and then black even gets sente. But what the book says about this, and this is definitely new to me, right? Like, this isn't my style. But black puts white in bad shape and took sente. But white can easily save itself using A or B, and so this is a defensive success, right? If white plays here, you can see how strong this white group is. If white plays here, well, there's actually a lot of attacking, cutting potential going on, and so this will also help white get a good defensive position. So even though black took sente and white took bad shape, this is still considered really good on a defensive level, because you're just trying to settle as quick as you can, or at least in this diagram. So this was very interesting to me. The last part was this: if black played B here, and the idea is that if black played B here, this was already considered a massive success, right? Black's turned into itself, and white already has a lot of room, like, to do what white wants to do. So that's the easy response. Let's move on to the next diagram. Okay, so here's a running battle. We look at black shape, this L shape here. It definitely needs to defend, right? Look at how weak it is in comparison. White is really strong here, and white has some strength here, and black is just by itself. So, once again, we use contact plays to defend ourselves, right? So if we play A, white plays A, then we get to jump, right? And so this jump is already unbreakable, right? If white tries to push and cut, then, or cut anywhere, then it's fine, right? We're still connected and very healthy. So black got away, and this is really nice, right? This would be super good for black. Black's leading in the running battle now. He's getting in front of white here. If white was to counterattack with a hane, now black actually, like, normally I'd play something like this, but this is very slow. So instead, black plays the dancing hane and expects to sacrifice this, right? We can now Atari, and then make a nice tiger's mouth. And so in this case, black breaks out into the center, and has good follow-ups at A and B. Sacrificing is one of the most important skills to use when defending. It's not possible to save every stone, so it's better to learn how to use your sacrifices correctly. This is extremely important to understand. This is kind of what I've been saying with every diagram. Um, but yeah, to defend yourself, you usually want to attach and expect to sacrifice it to get a better shape. This one is really nice example of that, right? We attached, he attacked, and then instead of worrying about the safety with a slow move, we play a much faster move, saying, hey, you can take this stone as bait if you want it, and then we can make good shape. So the idea is that black has good follow-ups at A or B now. Really cool example. I like this one a lot. Both cases, whatever white does, black gets a really nice shape by attaching. All right, if you're answering at home, you can pause the video here. If I remember right, it is white to play. And so what should white do to save itself? If you want to pause the video, go ahead. I will give the answer now. The answer, and this is a very interesting one, because the whole time we were saying attach, right? But in this case, we're going to look at how to defend without attaching, which is still a very heavy pressure move, which is this one, the shoulder hit. The correct move is the shoulder hit. This move is more effective than the other two, and if black tanukis, white has a big follow-up at A. Before we look more into this answer, let's look at the ones that were wrong, right? If white plays this attachment, which is I'm assuming most people picked because this is what we learned already, and it just looks good. But the problem is when black plays this move, the inside Hane, right? If black played on the outside, we get the nice pullback. But if black plays the inside, even when we cut and try and get inside here, there's no eyes, right? The under attachment here doesn't work well compared to before. And it's because, like I said, if I Atari here, there's just no eyes, right? And so it's not as good. In the other example, if we got to Atari on top, we were getting a good result on top. But in this case, we're not because of all these black stones. So this move doesn't work. If we just played B here, if I remember, black peeps, yep, and then black will play this move. And we can already see white is straight, doesn't have a lot of eye potential, and black is in the lead of this race. So it's gaining points and influence while white is just trying to survive. So this would be good. So now we're going to find out why this is good. In this move, I think you guys can see can clearly be cut off, right? So let's take a look. Let me see. If this move is more effective, if black tanukis, white has a big follow-up at A. So if black played somewhere else, we can clearly see that this would be really good for white. This is a huge follow-up. If black was to play A, we can now attach to it. Black cuts, but this is great, right? We can clearly see that we can sacrifice the stone and just Atari our ways out, right? So A and B become Mii. White has escaped in a far better way than the last diagram, right? In the last diagram, black was ahead in the race. In this case, white is starting to become ahead of the race. Black can get in front, but then white gets to play this, and this is fantastic attack against these. And white is clearly making good shape on the outside. If black was to make points, which I think most people would do, well, maybe not because the head of three stones, but anyway, we get to hit the head of these three stones. And so these stones are one move away from dying, right? And so white's clearly making good shape and getting out. So yeah, both A and B become Mii. So this is a really cool sacrificing technique. Like playing this move knowing that it will get cut off and then using it to get out. That's really, really cool. Next, if black was to play something like this, I believe we set up this to be a good area. So we Hane here. and then we push through. And now you see, because of this move, we have a tiger's mouth, so this can't be taken, and we can connect. And once we play this, A and B once again become Mei, right? If black makes sure that we can't live on the bottom, then we can just net these stones and kill them. If black saves itself in any manner, then white can play this, and we can make eyes on the bottom. So we do sacrifice these stones once again, but it allows us to live with our main group. Very, very cool move. I don't know if I would truly find this in my own game. So I really like this example. Like, I think this is really fantastic. So shoulder hits, even non-contact but good pressure moves, can also be a good defensive tool for you guys. All right, I think we're at the end of the first part of the book. So those were all the techniques, if I remember. Yeah, those are all the techniques that the book gives us for defense. Not many compared to attacking, in my opinion. Mainly, what we covered and what they give us is under attachments, over attachments, and shoulder hit, defense. So that's all the tools they really give us for defense, which is kind of interesting. And I guess that's why the book says it's easier to defend, right? Because there's just less to cover. Whereas the whole book, I don't know how many chapters, maybe it's 10 or 13, covers mainly attacking. It only covers defense in one whole chapter. So we're almost done with this defensive chapter 4. So let's take a look at these games. Pro game examples: Takamiya versus Sugaichi. Sugaichi? Sugi? Sugaichi, sorry. Black is threatening A to B to C. So black is threatening to play A, white plays B, and then black plays C. So this would be really good. So how should white save its 2 stones? It's not one of these markers. So that's my hint for you guys. Go ahead and pause the video if you want. There's going to be 5 questions or 5 pro games, so we can look through them. I'm going to give the answer now. The answer was to attach on top here. I did get this one right. I got most of these right. There was one I got wrong. But yeah, this felt good to attach on top. Because now we have A and B. So if we play, if you want to answer this, you can pause it here for white's next move. I'm actually going to drink some water. Sorry about having lag in the clean version. But if we play A here now, black, it's funny, like I think most people would play here, but this is a professional game, and this is what the pro played. Black played this move, and then white played this diagonal. So we can see white used the defensive contact play to weaken black. Black counterattacked, and then white got stronger, and so now white's out into the center. Very good for white. This is what happened in the game. I think Takamiya was playing white. He's the one who, has that global strategy, the cosmic way to play Go. Anyway, if we were to try the sacrificing crosscut Tetsuji, which I thought would work, I think I did mess this up when I first looked at it. Black plays here, and black has too many ways to get out. So now when black eats the stone, white still got out, but it's saying that this is significantly better for black, right? Because black got to capture, and so this area is just much more solid. Also, if black gets this follow-up move at S6, it's really good. So if we compare the other diagram, we can see that black doesn't have this x6 follow-up anymore. So the other variation is just better. So in this case, it's not good to cross-cut sacrifice. Really cool problem. Very simple. I hope you guys got it right. And if not, that's okay. That's why we're here, right? We're here to learn new moves and new strategies. All right, Ishida versus Yamashiro. Ishida is black, and it's black to play. How can black, or how black save? How can black save the two stones on the bottom? So we're looking at these two stones here. If you want to pause the video and contemplate the first move, go ahead now. I'm going to give the answer. This is another one I got right. And actually, my student got this right too in the live version we recorded of this. It was this move, the shoulder hit here. This shoulder hit is a really nice, almost contact move that helps black significantly get out. Now, here's the thing. I would have just played here or jumped. I would weigh the pros and cons. I could not find this cool Knights move, but this double Knights move, this pyramid shape or triangle shape, I call it the pyramid head, um, is super awesome. The key is the shoulder hit, right? You got to find the shoulder hit first, which is good. But then when you put this Knights move together, we can see all the variations. Now, guys, this is really complicated. Don't feel like you have to memorize this or, you know, take too much from it. What I would take is how to defend, right? Which is this leaning attack here, and then jumping with this Knights here move. But anyway, let's take a look. So black plays here. I'm sorry, white plays here, and black pushes through. Black comes down to reconnect to its stones. Black then Hanes this, right, to attack this. White peeps, which I really like this peep, and I also like how black handles this. For me, I would have picked one or the other, right? But for black, black puts pressure on these. And I didn't realize when I first looked at this problem how weak these stones are, right? Because black has lots of strength. So this move is really nice. White has to cut. Black allows the cut. And then black takes this eye. So that's good for black. White Ataris. And then black plays here. So for me, I might have played this. Maybe. I mean, but this looks pretty nice. So once again, it's attacking this group. And so at this point now, white is forced to save it, right? Play a move. So this was the pros continuation. Black lived on the bottom with profit and hurt the top group where white had to defend in Gote. So this was really cool and successful for black. Very high level, I think. I wouldn't expect anyone to get this order of moves, but still really cool. And I like this shoulder hit defense, right? Really cool. All right, let's move on to the third problem. There's 5, so we're almost done. Hey, hey, God King. I'm filming a clean version of this. If you remember Monday, I filmed this and we had like, 20, 30 people and lots of comments. And I think it took like an hour and 40 minutes to do the whole class. This one, we're on 40 minutes and I'm almost done. So this is for YouTube. But welcome to the Twitch. Ishida Black versus Cho. So black played. It's black to play. Uh, Black has been capped, right? Has been capped on the left side. Can they be rescued? So it's black's turn. Can you guys find the move that would rescue black? I'll let you pause the video here, and I'll give you the answer. The answer is this attachment here. This is a really nice attachment. There's nothing else really to try to attach to that will help, right? This is the weakest stone, and so this is what we will attach to. But yeah, anything else looks pretty bad for black. This question I can imagine is pretty hard for people. But yes, this is the move. So now if white plays A, and once again, this becomes super complicated, which is funny because the book says defense is the easiest thing to learn, but I find it has the hardest variations for me. Maybe I'm just bad defensively, but anyway, we'll see how complicated this gets. White pushes through, and black attaches here. So black dodges with attachments, and white one fails. White backs off, and then this is, you can easily see that black's getting a good result here, right? So in this case, this one's a bit simple, right, compared to what we're about to see. Um, but this one, to me, is like pretty crazy. So first we cut. White has many options, right? So if white plays A, black pushes up, white attacks, and then black Ataris, and then jumps down. And so we can see that black is sacrificing these stones. Um, if white Hanes at 4, black will sacrifice 1 and 5 to save the whole group. So it's pretty cool. Like when we look at this as a cross-cut sacrifice, right? We keep seeing this technique pop up. White peeps, black pushes, white cuts through, black takes the stone. So this would be good for black. This peep cut is not good for white. You can see white really didn't get too much, and black saved its whole group in profit. So this would be really bad. So let's take a look at if white played this. So this is the move I thought white should have played. And I think this is what the pro played in the game. So white plays this. And now black jumps down. And this jump looks really wacky to me, but I see that it has some good follow-ups. In the pro game, white extended with 4, and black 5 set up an escape at B, and also helped make an I. This goes really deep. Even my brain felt burnt around here, so I wouldn't worry too much about memorizing these variations. But yeah, there's actually an I setup here because of this move. We'll see it later. So white plays here to keep himself connected and keep black weak. Black gets to Atari. White played 1 to prevent A, and now there are 2 possible moves for white. So we can see if white pushes here, black Ataris, takes this stone, and then there we go. Black's alive. Black has Miai, right? Black can play A, and black can play B. And here's your I, right? Here's the I. B sets up an I here, or under. And so this is a really nice Miai move that was set up thanks to this E5. Um, if white was to play here instead of here, black just takes Anes, connects, hits the weakness, plays this, plays under, and we can see that when black plays here, now this is insanely hard reading for me, but apparently black will win this capturing race. Like, black to me looks more trapped than white does. Well, black looks like it doesn't have enough liberties. But it says in the book, and it doesn't go further than this, it says that black will win this capturing race and kill these stones. That's some insane reading. That is very hard for me to find. Like I said, don't memorize these variations. The key is to finding the first move and then trying to work your way through it. That's my opinion. But yeah, the key is to find this attachment here. And then we, try our best to use this as a sacrifice. Like if we get away with this, which I think most players at my level would play this, but if somebody was to play this, it's very easy to see we can sacrifice this to gain a getting out, right? So, all right, we're gonna move on to problem 4. I know that one was super long. The book is also pretty long. When I was putting all these diagrams together, because there's so many possibilities and variables, it took a long time to put all these diagrams together. But anyway, Fujisawa as white versus Yoshio Ishida. It is white's turn to play. Let's see if you can find the answer. This one I did find the answer, and I felt pretty proud of myself. If you guys want to pause it, go ahead. I'm going to give you the answer now. The answer is this one. Now, at first, you can look at this jumping attachment. This is what I looked at first. This one I wasn't too concerned with, but it's something we learned, so I looked at it. But I really liked this attachment here, right? Because no matter what black does, we're gonna gain something here. So if black just plays up, then we play up, and now the book says this is the maximum or widest area we can get. So this is really good for white already. If black plays this, which is probably the normal move for most players, um, you have to be okay with making like a sacrifice, or at least setting up one, right? Because here's the setup for a big sacrifice. But once we do sacrifice this stone, now we can jump and we're out, right? Black can't break this connection um, easily without allowing white to come out. And there's actually a cool setup here that I didn't think of. So if, let's say, black tanukis and white plays A, well, now we can see that this is a squeeze. And so this would be fantastic for white. So this A setup is really cool, but it definitely needs like a tanuki, like something that you can get sente from. But really cool move, really cool combination. And the key to this one, because I think most people would play this, I think even I would before I read this lecture. But the key is to allow the dancing hane, the counter hane, to be okay with sacrifices here, because that's what's going to happen, right? You're going to have to sacrifice something. Very cool, though. Finally, if black plays this, which is also another common move, right? Undercut your opponents. White also plays the sacrifice, right? The crosscut sacrifice. So we Atari, we attach here. This is where another part of the game where I was like, this attachment I think would be hard to find. Like for me, I'd probably play something like this. But this attachment is super cool. And then once again, funny enough, the right answer is to crosscut sacrifice twice. Super cool technique. And you can see now that white gains a connection to the outside. And it's also helping to build a moyo here. So the crosscut sacrifice again, great defense. Builds a large moyo on the left. What happens if we don't use the crosscut? So let's take a look. And as you can see, we had to sprinkle lots of stones with lots of weaknesses to get to this point. This is what's called playing lightly. We covered this concept in the Making Good Shape book, if you guys checked out those videos. But let's take a look if white didn't crosscut here. So if white plays B, black Ataris, and then gets a Romeo Juliet split, right? It gets to break this knight's move. This is so painful. Even though white is getting out here, this moyo is non-existent, right? Like white's in trouble here. So we can see that this was worse off. If we play C, black gets to cut, and we can see that what's called the attachment extend technique, right? Attach and then extend. This is a very common technique. But if we try this technique, it leads to 6, which is an extremely powerful cut here. So this doesn't work either. So learning this crosscut sacrifice technique is really good. We used it twice in this example, and it's just really, fantastic. I think it's really cool. So finally, if we look at this cut, right, that's probably what you guys were eyeing. White can attach here, Ane, and then Atari here. This type of light play emphasizes skillful defense. Black can capture a couple of sprinkled stones, but white defends the main. I put made, but it's main. part of its group. This is really, really cool. We just saw a ton of contact plays, but you can see how this result is super good for white here, right? White clearly reduced this area significantly and is building a humongous moyo. So this is a fantastic example of defense, like probably the best one out of this lecture, using all these contact plays, right? Contact, 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 contact. In fact, every single move is touching an enemy stone. Crazy. All right, guys. We're going to get to the last one. Finally, we're going to get to the last problem. And this will be the end of the lecture. So this was Kobayashi. I'm sure you know that famous name. He was playing black versus Ishida. It's black to play. Black needs to save the stone on the left. And this answer I couldn't find. I could not find the correct answer here. This is my at least third, if not fourth time looking at this problem. And I still think I have some trouble finding it. So black has to save this. You guys can pause it if you're watching at home. So let's take a look at the answer. I think, like, if I was to pick, I would pick D8. But let's see. Okay, yep. And so that's why I've been wrong every single time. It's not a contact play. That's the thing, right? We learned that shoulder hits can be just as useful as contact plays. And so when it comes to defense, and so this is the move here. So now let's take a look. The idea is black has lots of places to go, right? So what's white gonna do? If white defends this corner, black now pushes up, comes down, and then for me, I would have played B. I would have made this like scorpion shape. The mark stone should have been at 1. So if this stone, like if we go back, the professional should have played here. That's what the book was saying. But the mark stone should have been played at 1. This allows black to use great defensive Tetsuji. So I would have played B, but B is wrong. Once again, we're going to use the cross-cut sacrifice. And we can see very easily if white was to play, let's say here, then black can Atari through, right? So that's great. Let's take a look at some stuff. So if white plays A, black Ataris, makes this a real I, so now it's not a Ko anymore. And then attaches and jumps, and black's alive pretty easily. Black makes great shape with the crosscut sacrifice, and black flies into the center. Super cool. Really, really cool. Seeing this crosscut Tetsuji over and over, it really wants me to try and learn this and use it in my own game, so I like it. If white was to play this, then we just Atari through, and there we go. Black's already connected and alive, so this is great for black. So that is the last problem. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to discuss about this one. So guys, thanks for watching. This was chapter 4 of Attack and Defense. We covered, and this is me repeating myself, but we covered how important defending is, and how it's generally supposed to be easier to defend than attack, and that we mainly use contact plays to defend, right? We touch our opponents to gain strength. The other key that I didn't perfectly learn, right, because we saw in the last problem I got it wrong, is using shoulder hits to also be able to get out, right? I think it was this example here. No, it wasn't this one. Let's see. No, it wasn't this one. This one, I think. All right, yes. So this is the cool one where, the attachments or the jump just don't work, right? So using the shoulder hit is really nice because now regardless of what black does, we can use this shoulder hit, the crosscut technique, to sacrifice and get out. So, guys, I've been talking long enough. I think you get the picture. Feel free to rewatch this. This is my fourth time going over this class. 2 times I had to read the book and then make all the diagrams and then teach it live. And now I made this clean version for you guys on YouTube. So this is a very important chapter that I found quite difficult. So hopefully it helped you guys out. Next week we'll be working on chapter 5, which is forcing moves, which is a really cool chapter. I read the book when I was a much weaker player, around 6Q or 7Q. And, every time I read this book, I feel like I get new knowledge from it, right? This is a very high level book. And even at a 1Q level, I still continuously learn a lot from this. So hopefully this helps, and I'll end it here. Take it easy, guys.